Okay, um, President Obama came out this time in favor of gay marriage. I guess he was for it before he was against it, and then before that he was for it again. But what did he really say? He said he personally was in favor of gay marriage, but frankly he's not going to put anything behind it, no effort in it. So I don't know why people think that was so bold. So be it. Let's think about this. Um, let's look at it without all the hoopla. It just flat out what it is. You know, Bloomberg said it's a setback in civil rights. Well, let's look at it. Is marriage a civil right? Let's first ask ourselves, where do we get our rights? We get our rights from the Constitution. And in the Constitution, there is absolutely no right to marriage. It's not in there. Now, this creates, should government be involved in marriage? I mean, we could discuss that. Should it be? Because let's face it, where do you get your marriage license from? A license is issued by the state. Okay? Therefore, it becomes a state issue. Period. It's just, there's no other way to look at it. It's not civil rights. This isn't a constitutional case. This isn't something that needs to go to the Supreme Court, not to decide that. But what's interesting is homosexuals, if you ask one and you tell them that your position is that homosexuality is a choice, it is a lifestyle choice, they'll of course mutter back, this is the typical blanket response you get. Well, when did you choose to be heterosexual? Well, I make choices every single day with regards to sexual activity. Because look at it like this. Gay person says that they're born this way. That's what they say. I don't think that they're born. They may have certain maybe proclivities, but I don't think they're born with the inability to make choices. Now, again, as a married person, when you take those vows, you're supposed to remain, faithful to your partner. But coming from a guy's perspective, and I'm sure, I would think women have the same inclinations. You can love your partner, but that doesn't mean that you don't look around and say, wow, that's a good-looking woman right there. And that doesn't mean you might not have some things pop into your head, because that's kind of what nature intended. That's what comes natural. Now, if I were to, submit and say that homosexuality is natural, therefore it must be accepted and it must be tolerated, and well, then that must mean that monogamy is silly, monogamy is unnatural, and really a partner shouldn't be upset if the other partner goes off and cheats, because that's just what they're doing is normal. So, we're not animals. We have the ability to control our impulses, our instincts, other things. We're human beings. We're not savages. I'm kind of an avid watcher of some of the things on TV, Discovery Channel and stuff like that. And it's interesting, inmates who are not homosexuals will go out and, they'll have sex with other people of the same gender. Now, they'll tell you they're not homosexuals, but why are they doing that? It's by choice. So, I think there's plenty enough evidence to say, look, you have the ability to control your behavior. To say that because something is natural, that it must be accepted, simply isn't true. I've talked to several individuals who say, well, homosexuality is in the animal kingdom. It's natural, it's everywhere. Well, yeah, but so is the male species killing off the cubs of other females in order to bring her into heat. That's normal in the animal kingdom too, but we don't do that. Um, but back to is it a right? It absolutely is not. Again, it's a license issued by the state. It is, as far as equal protection under the law. Well, myself as a straight male, and say there was another individual sitting right here that was a gay male, we both have the right and the ability to marry someone of the opposite sex. Therefore, we are equal under the law. Now, again, he considered and say, well, I don't love women that way. Well, there's a standard. The standard set forth by the law in each state says that, here's, if you want a marriage license, here's the standard. Just like a driver's license, you've got to do X. To get welfare, you have to qualify. To get a marriage license, you have to meet a certain criteria. That's just the way it is. It's not discrimination. To say it's discrimination would be to say that everybody is being discriminated except for a man and a woman. To say that it's discrimination, well, then polygamy should be allowed. And apparently, come to find out, it looks like Obama's biological father was a polygamist. He was married to 3 women at the same time and had children. So, anyway, that aside, polygamy should be allowed. Because if we're not, as a society, if we're not allowed to dictate the standards for marriage, then polygamy is good. How about fathers marrying their daughters, or brothers and sisters being allowed to marry? It's repulsive, but hey, if we can't set a standard, and people should be able to marry who they love, then if that's the criteria, like Joe Biden said, who do you love? Yeah, so you have to. It's the logical conclusion. Once you erase the bar, the standard from man and woman, where do you redraw the bar? Because wherever you redraw the bar, anyone underneath that bar who's disallowed, well, guess what? They can claim the same discrimination. Brother and sister want to get married. Who cares? How does that marriage affect anyone else's marriage? And the genetic thing doesn't matter, because obviously marriage isn't about raising kids anymore, because a gay couple technically can't reproduce. Speaking of reproducing, I'm a little puzzled. If nature intended a male and female in order to propagate the species and continue the genetic line, if you have a gay person and they're attracted to supposedly another gay person, how does the gay gene get passed on? Would it not die out? I mean, even Darwin said that homosexuality is a dead end. So, kind of interesting, because the homosexuals can't reproduce, therefore the genetic line would die off. So, don't ask me how they keep increasing in numbers. Maybe it's because people choose certain things. But anyway, again, once you draw that line, everyone below that can make the same argument. Age. Okay, I know what the law says. In Kansas, I think you can get married at age 16 with parental consent. You can be 18 and get married. But let's face it, what does a 17-year-old have the day before they turned 18 that they didn't have the day before? So I guess if you're 18, all of a sudden, why is that now okay? What kind of, knowledge or maturity did you gain that you didn't have the night before you turned 18? So 17-year-olds are being discriminated against, and 16 and 15 and 14. Where do you draw the line? It's who do you love? You can't say that a 14-year-old doesn't love, because apparently, again, Joe Biden, who do you love? How can we set standards? Where do you draw the line? Who are you going to discriminate against? And you know what? The thing is, it's not discrimination. It's society setting a standard, and it's a standard that has worked for, an awful long time. If you're a biblical person, look at what happened to the Jews in the desert when Moses went up to to Mount Sinai. When he came back, they were all wicked and corrupted, and wasn't a good time for them. Look at the Greeks. Look at the Romans. All this tolerance, where they conscripted young boys and forced them into homosexuality in the military. These societies have become more and more and more tolerant. They fall apart. They crumble because people are just afraid to judge. Now, look, people, I want you to understand, this does not mean that, I don't think, look, if two lesbians or two gays or whatever, if they want to engage in that activity in the privacy of their home, that is their business. If they want to visit each other in the hospital, I don't care. If they want to leave their life savings, fine. That's not my business. However, when it comes to issuing a license for marriage, the state/the people have every single right to set the standards that they want. And no, the majority of this country does not favor gay marriage. I am sick and tired of people like Juan Williams and the left running around toting that nonsense. That is a bunch of hogwash. The left knows it. They're just trying to say it long enough and loud enough to maybe get some people to believe it. Fact is, everywhere, what is it? Was it 32 or 38 states have gay marriage bans? They've defined marriage as between a man and a woman. Pretty much all the states that allow it. I may be wrong on this, but I am 99% sure the majority of those states basically had courts overturn the will of the people. Even California, far left California, they even put a ban on gay marriage. So no, the majority of this country is not in favor of it. I'm not saying that, you don't go out and you don't beat these people up, you just don't do that. All I am simply saying is, as a society, this is a states' rights issue, and we, the people, have a right to set a standard of who is in the definition of marriage. And that has been and always should be between a man and a woman, because anything else, you draw that bar, someone is going to, quote, be discriminated against. So ask a gay person, gee, well, where would you draw the line for marriage? They're going to draw, the only way they could be intellectually honest is to say anyone can marry anyone, as many, and whatever age, and otherwise they're being discriminatory, just like they're accusing everybody else of. So, this isn't a video for hate. This is a video of reason and thought, and you don't have to agree with me, but I've thought out my position, and frankly, I won't budge on it. I know it to be true. You'll have to explore it for yourself and think about it. But anyway, that's just kind of my thought since, Obama came out as the first gay president, and Joe Biden is, well, he's a buffoon. And I applaud Mitt Romney for taking the stance that he has. And we'll see how this shapes up.